Good morning, classmates, and also to our dear advisor, Dr. Nilad Villaver. Good morning to you, ma'am. This morning, I'm going to report and explain about the rational model in perspective and also about bounded rationality. Rational model. Rationality, a logical, step-by-step approach to decision making with a thorough analysis of alternatives and their consequences. We have this number one. The outcome will be completely rational. Second, the decision maker uses a consistent system of preferences to choose the best alternative. The third one is the decision maker is aware of all alternatives. And the fourth one, the decision maker can calculate the probability of success for each alternatives. The rational model conjures up an image of decision maker as a super calculating machine. But we know that managers must make decisions with insight, time constraints, and with less information than they would like to have. The three concepts that have emerged over the years to help managers put their decisions making in perspective. We have this bounded rationality and satisfying. Second, we have this heuristic and biases. These concepts are neither good nor bad per us. Rather, they help us keep in mind that we, human beings, do not have limits as we our minds to confront the world. When we say bounded rationality and satisfying, Herbert Simon proposed about the theory of bounded rationality. This theory points out that decision makers must cope with inadequate information about the nature of the problem and its possible lack of time or money to compile more complete information and inability to remember large amounts of information and the limits of their own intelligence. Instead of searching for the perfect or ideal decision, managers frequently settle for one that will adequately serve their purposes. In Simon's terms, this satisfies or accept the first satisfactory decision they uncover rather than maximize or search until they find the best possible decision. What the effective decision maker learns to do is to satisfy with a clear sense of goals for organization in mind. In heuristic ideas, unbounded rationality have demonstrated that people only rely on heuristic principles or rules of thumb to simplify decision making. We have an example. A loan officers may screen mortgage applicants by assuming people can afford to spend no more than 35% of their income on housing. We have these three heuristics shows up repeatedly in human decision making. These are the general cognitive guides people use intuitively. We have these availability, representatives, anchoring, and adjustment. When we say availability, people sometimes judge an event's likelihood by testing it against their memories. In principle, it is easier to recall frequently occurring events. Thus, events that are more readily available in memory are assumed to be more likely to occur in the future. This assumption is based on the experience of a lifetime, and it seems reasonable enough. However, human memory is also affected by how recently an event occurred and how vivid the experience was. Thus, the risk manager recently caught in a flood is likely to overestimate the importance and frequency of flooding the next time he or she focuses insurances. Representatives. People also tend to assess the likelihood of an occurrence by trying to match it with a pre-existing category. For example, employers may rely on stereotypes of sexual, racial, or ethnic groups to predict an individual job candidate's performance. In a similar way, product managers may predict the performance of a new product by relating it to the other products with a proven track records. In fact, however, each individual or product is a new commodity, not just representatives or a group, and should be judged accordingly. The last one is anchoring and adjustment. People do not pull decisions out of thin air. Usually, They start with some initial value or anchor and then make adjustment to that value in order to arrive at a final decision. Salary decisions, for example, are routinely calculated by assuming last year's salary to be an initial value to which an adjustment must be made. Unfortunately, depending heavily on the single factor of initial value tends to obscure relevant criteria. In addition to that, different initial values lead to different decisions. Thank you so much, and that's all about my report.